What up, guys? I'm back. I am sorry about last week. It was a busy week. I had a ton going on with bikes. It was bikes, but a ton of good stuff. But it's gonna be a busy day today, but a good busy day. Let's get right into what we're doing. There's a few different things going on right now. This is gonna be good. So today we are starting this bike up. We are heat cycling it 3 times, which takes about 3 hours. After we heat cycle it, we're gonna go take it for a cruise, see how she feels, see how she rides, and see what jets need to go in this carburetor from here. Right now on this bike, we have the straight air intake filter going to the carburetor. And I believe this is the stock diameter carb. I'm not sure, to be honest. It does not signify whether it is, and it doesn't really matter. It's all right, because we're gonna upjet it anyway. So this bike is the goal today, man. The 80cc big bore kit is built and in there. Everything is hooked back up in the top, you know, the fuel system, the carburetor, all that fun stuff. We got fuel in the tank. But there was an electrical issue with this bike. It's a little bit dark, I'm sorry. There's no real good light in this garage in the morning. But yeah, there's an electrical issue with the fuse in this bike. When I'd go to turn on the power with the key to this bike, after I installed the big bore kit and got everything hooked up and everything, this was dead to the water. Nothing would turn on here. So that told me that there is nothing from the power whatsoever. So what I did is I traced it. I traced it back with a volt wand here. And right before the fuse from the battery was power. But after the fuse, there was no power. No power, baby, not good. But doesn't matter now because there's a fresh fuse in there. And sure enough, it gets power. Here's what a blown fuse looks like. You can see it's disconnected straight in the middle like that. And here's what a good fuse looks like. One solid piece, fresh, just like that. Power, baby. But first things first, we're gonna go get a fresh battery from the shop. The shop opens up in about 20-30 minutes right now for that bike. And I'm hungry. I gotta get some food. Let's take the 2-stroker Italian Stallion. Love this bike, man. Up to Taco Bell. Let's get some food and then get to the shop. All right, Taco Bell secured in the bag in my backpack because there's no storage on this bike. Let's hit the road. Traffic, of course, what do you know? Leave it to my phone to stop recording footage. When I was going down the street, it just stopped recording, man. It's so frustrating. I need a GoPro. I need a GoPro so bad. But we are here, man. We are here at Scooter Tuners right now, getting that battery for dude's bike. Got a whole bunch of new bikes in stock right now. We got Mad Dogs, we got Challengers, we got Ice Bears, we got Taotaos. Everything here in the shop is brand new and fresh. This beauty out here. This is Dave's 120cc stroker Honda Elite. When I pulled up, this thing was running, man, and I had it on film and everything. I've been waiting to see this bike for like a year and a half, a long time. He started this thing up, and boy, does this thing have some power. It is so loud, it hurts your ears. It hurts your goddamn ears just standing next to this thing. Pretty damn sweet. But look at these bikes back here. These are pretty sweet. This looks like a little mini bike, and it's still a scooter. I think that's dope. But all right, we're picking up that battery, hopping back on the bike, getting back to the crib and putting this bike together and starting her up. All right, we're back, and now we're gonna get into this bike finally. We got a fresh battery. We got the same one that I run in my Taotao. More volts, more amps, and it fits in the terminal just fine. But what I gotta do real quick is swap over that orange CDI and that orange spark plug cap because those are just no go, but I put that on there to diagnose the problem. Anyways, gonna swap those back to stock, get that battery hooked up, and fire this thing up. We got the CDI and the spark plug switched back over to stock, which is a good thing. Got the battery on there. The bike's got power. We got all the gas lines hooked up to the carburetor. We got everything hooked up where it needs to be. We got fresh oil in the motor. This is it. First start up. Let's do this thing. Got burn off that extra smoke from the lubricant, but she's running, baby. She shut down from her first heat cycle. I ran it for about 12, 14 minutes, and I got it to idle, and it's sitting there idling beautifully. But now she's gonna cool down for the next 45 minutes before we start it up for a second time. She is shut down after her second heat cycle. I ran it for 13 minutes, and we're gonna let it cool down for another hour. The reason you do this is to heat up those piston rings on your piston to allow them to expand, and then when it cools down, it'll seat into the position that the piston needs to go into, or the piston rings need to go into, to make a complete seal. You really wanna heat cycle your bike properly on first startup after big bore kitting your bike. It is now the next day. Sometimes these things happen, and sure enough it did. So I got that bike heat cycled, and I actually shut it down and started up for its second heat cycle, and there was still smoke coming out the exhaust. Nothing crazy, but enough to where it shouldn't be there. It should have burned off by that point. So after it finished its second heat cycle, I went ahead and looked underneath the motor at the exhaust, and there was oil dripping down the exhaust. So that told me there's a leak. That's fun. So I took off the plastics and I looked at everything, and sure enough, there's a leak all the way in the back of the motor, right in between the crankcase and the bottom of the jug, where that dowel sits at. So today, I went through the bike and I opened it up again, and sure enough, that dowel all the way in the back on the bottom right of the stud had excess oil on it, telling me that it wasn't seated properly, or the stud was not too tight. Whatever the issue was, I completely went through that motor and I tightened down every single stud to every single spec. I put gasket maker, oil resistant gasket maker on that dowel, slid it back into place. I even put gasket maker on the paper seal that goes in between the crankcase and the jug, squished it together, reset the piston rings, which are good to go, did everything possible on that motor. We should be good. But we have to wait 24 hours for that gasket maker to seal properly. Always wait 24 hours. You don't want to rush it really, because it's just gonna, leak everywhere. It's still not solid yet. So we have to wait till tomorrow morning to start that bike up. So that's what we're doing. Mañana. So this bike's ready to go. Everything's put back together. All the oil is in there. Everything's hooked up. We're just waiting for that sealant to dry in the motor. I just thought I'd mention that besides the 80cc big bore kit, what was done to this bike is he already had the carburetor on there with the straight air intake, which is good, and it matched the bike. I like that a lot. But we upjetted the carburetor to a 98, so we have a 98 main fuel jet in there right now. I might drop it down after I get everything going, and hopefully that leak is taken care of. But right now, she's just sealing up for 24 hours to make sure that leak's good to go. Taotao, my pony 50, she's still here, guys, don't worry. She gets all the love. She's just usually sitting in the background nowadays. But I did have a question about this bracket here. So when I got this bike, one of the first things I did was install this aftermarket open exhaust. even before I did the big bore kit and I built the transmission, because now she's a built beauty. But this bracket was a problem the whole entire time. I mean, I would snap them off of the welds here. As you can see, there isn't one, because usually there is a bracket that comes and welds right up to this header. But it kept breaking, and it didn't come with a bracket that fit. So the solution to this is this steel unit. So what this piece here is it's a piece of steel that comes out of a crate of a bike that comes on a pallet. And this piece of steel is bent, and it just so happened to fit perfectly from this mounting spot here over to this area. And it really doesn't matter how long this is, because this can be mounted, you know, anywhere along the muffler, but the reach is perfect and the angle is perfect. So this is simply just a piece of steel that has two holes in it here and here that go from the mounting area over to this bracket. And it holds it nice and snug perfectly. But there's also a piece of steel down here on the bottom of the bracket with a C-clamp to replace that crappy little Chinese weld that had that piece of aluminum, steel, whatever it is, that keeps breaking off. So both of these are pieces of steel that are fabricated, bent into position, and drilled through to fit this bracket up to everything to make it nice and snug, and it don't go nowhere. This thing's solid. So it works, dude. I'm gonna paint it because, you know, it looks really, it's just raw metal. I really need to paint that, but 100% good to go. I love that. Still a unit. Now my latest build, the Italian Stallion, the Vento. This thing is pulling numbers now. It is absolutely pulling numbers. I'll drop a little graph in the side here. I got it up to 62 mile an hour downhill, so it's cheating. But this thing pulls solid 58.6 to 58.7 miles per hour consistently. It'll consistently pull the same numbers with a 0 to 40 of about 8 to 10 seconds, depending on the conditions, because it is a two-stroke, and I've noticed that it is finicky in certain temperatures. It really likes about 75 degrees. 75 is perfect for what this bike wants. But there is some work to be done still. Definitely some little things to handle. One, tires. I have a slow leak in the front, and this thing deserves proper Pirelli tires anyways. Two, the front brake. It doesn't really work right now. I've only been using the rear one, but it's functional. Three, mirrors. These mirrors suck. They're horrible, man. Especially with the person who owned this before me. They super glued this piece here, and it's all floppy and improper. And I have to adjust these things everywhere I ride. So that's a chunk of cash, but it's gonna be worth it. I definitely need that. And not the biggest deal, but I actually have it in the garage right now, is clearing this headlight up. I might as well do that tonight if I have time, because it's just foggy and yellow, doesn't look good. And I'm sure it'll be a lot better at nighttime, a lot more bright too. This is exactly what you're looking for if you're curious. Meguiar's two-step headlight restoration kit, real simple, no electronic tools needed. And it's the moderate kit because it's not that bad. My headlights are decent, but it's about 20 bucks at AutoZone, and this will do the job. Bikes, bikes, bikes. That's been my life for the past 2 weeks. Before this bike here, I actually big bored another bike, a black Taotao. You know, upjetted the carburetor, got that thing dialed in and ripping. And then I've been working on this bike and finishing it up, and we are almost there. Taotao still running good as ever. The Vento is ripping. There's still those things I was talking about, definitely tires, mirrors, and stuff like that. I want to take care of that before I really dig into it in the transmission, CVT, and gears, because this thing's pulling numbers. That thing's pulling numbers, and the motor is just built right now. So that thing is going to be quite capable. I've been riding that thing around everywhere. But thank you guys for watching this channel and these builds. You know, it means a whole lot to me. I am passionate about what I do. You know, I love putting together bikes. I love riding them. And I love answering y'all's questions, however I can help you. I look at everybody's comments. I look at every single comment that I get. People have been adding me on different medias. I have no problem doing that. This is what I'm here for. I like sharing my passion, my builds, and helping out where I can. And hopefully you learn something along the way so you can do this yourself, because even though it's busy sometimes, at the end of the day, it's still a blast. It's a good life, man. So thank you so much for watching. Till next time, guys.
Peace.